The judgment chamber floated in the darkness between stars. A massive construct of crystal and metal that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Inside, Ambassador Marcus Webb stood alone on a circular platform that hovered above an endless void. Around him, holographic projections displayed 300 alien species, each one representing worlds and civilizations that had existed for thousands of years before. Earth even discovered fire. The air tasted wrong. The atmospheric processors adjusted for hundreds of different biology types, creating a chemical mixture that made Marcus's throat burn with every breath. Above him, the Quarian Chancellor materialized as a being of pure energy contained within a gravity well. Its voice resonated through every speaker in the chamber, through the very bones of every creature present. Humanity of Earth, you stand before the Galactic Council to answer for your crimes against interstellar law. The charges are severe. You have violated the Sanctuary Accords. You have militarized a humanitarian crisis. You have deployed warships to protect refugees without Council authorization. How do you answer these accusations? Marcus looked up at the being of light and energy. Behind him, projected on massive screens, images showed human warships forming defensive perimeters around alien refugee vessels. The evidence was clear. Earth had broken laws that governed the galaxy for 10,000 years. The Voxcar representative, a serpentine creature whose scales shifted colors with emotion, coiled forward. Its scales flashed bright red, the color of rage. The human speaks nothing. Perhaps they understand the magnitude of their offense. Perhaps they finally recognize their place in the galactic order. Marcus smiled slightly. It was not a friendly expression. Chancellor, honored representatives, I understand the charges perfectly. Earth deployed 47 warships to protect 3 million Talvine refugees from the Krelax Dominion. We established a defensive perimeter. We refused council mediation. We acted without authorization. He paused, letting his words sink in. And we would do it again. The chamber erupted. Hundreds of alien species began communicating at once, their various methods of speech creating a cacophony that the translation system struggled to process. Some species clicked mandibles. Others released chemical signals. Still others communicated through color changes or electrical pulses. The result was chaos. Silence. The Chancellor's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Ambassador Webb, you admit to these violations? I admit to protecting innocent lives while the Council debated. Marcus activated his datapad. Images flooded the holographic displays throughout the chamber. Burning Talvine colony ships. Children floating dead in space. Distress beacons that had been transmitted for weeks without response. I admit that while the Council held 17 sessions to discuss jurisdiction and political implications, the Krelax Dominion hunted refugees like animals. A new representative spoke. The Gorlan ambassador was a massive creature that resembled stone given life. Its voice rumbled like an earthquake. The Talvin Civil War is an internal matter of a sovereign species. The Krelax government has legitimate security concerns regarding rebel elements among the refugee population. Marcus turned to face the Gorlan directly. Security concerns. Is that what we call genocide now? The Krelax aren't hunting rebels. They're exterminating anyone who opposed their government, women, children, anyone whose genetic markers show descent from the wrong bloodline. You have no authority to make such determinations, the Voxcar hissed. You are a newcomer species. Humanity has been in space for less than a century. You do not understand the complexities of galactic politics. You're right, Marcus agreed. We don't understand how a government body can watch genocide happen and call it politics. We don't understand how protecting innocent lives can be a crime. Maybe that's because humanity hasn't been civilized long enough to forget what matters. The Chancellor's energy field pulsed with what might have been anger or frustration. Your moral posturing is noted, Ambassador. However, the law is clear. The Krelax Dominion is a recognized sovereignty. Their internal affairs are protected under Council Charter. Your interference, regardless of motivation, violates treaties that maintain peace across thousands of worlds. Marcus nodded slowly. then the Council should know that Earth formally rejects those treaties. If protecting refugees is illegal, then humanity chooses to be outlaws. The chamber fell silent. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then alarms began blaring. Emergency lights flashed throughout the station. A massive view screen activated, showing the space outside the Council headquarters. Emerging from quantum jump points, forming a perfect sphere around the entire station, were human warships. Not 47. Not hundreds, thousands. Every combat vessel Earth possessed. Plus construction ships hastily fitted with weapons. Plus commercial freighters broadcasting missile signatures. The message was clear. Earth had committed everything to this moment. A junior aide rushed to the Chancellor's platform, its forearms gesturing frantically. The Chancellor's energy field flickered as it processed information. When it spoke again, its voice carried a new edge of concern. Ambassador Webb, you bring a fleet to Council headquarters. This is an act of war, no Chancellor. This is an act of commitment. Marcus's voice remained calm. The Talvine refugees asked Earth for help. We answered, now, the Krellox Dominion has issued an ultimatum. Surrender the refugees within 5 cycles, or they will take them by force. Earth's answer is already decided. The Voxcar's scales flashed multiple colors in rapid succession. You would start a war with the Dominion? They control 40 systems. Their military has conquered worlds for 10,000 years. You are children playing with weapons you barely understand. Marcus turned to address the entire Council. Maybe we are children. But children can see clearly sometimes. They can see when something is wrong. They can see when the adults in the room are failing. He pulled up more images. Records of Council sessions spanning decades. Humanitarian crises delayed by political considerations. Refugee applications denied for diplomatic convenience. Wars ignored because intervention would be complicated. The Council was created to maintain peace and justice across the galaxy. But somewhere along the way, you chose order over justice. You chose convenience over conscience. You let the strong prey on the weak, as long as they did it quietly. And what gives you the right to judge us? The Gorlan's voice shook the chamber. What gives humanity, a species that nearly destroyed itself in primitive warfare, the authority to lecture civilizations that have maintained peace for millennia? Nothing gives us the right, Marcus admitted. But someone has to stand. Someone has to say that law without justice is just tyranny with paperwork. The Talvine asked Earth for refuge. We gave them warships. Now the galaxy gets to decide what that means. The Chancellor's form dimmed slightly. You understand the consequences of your actions? The Krellox will not tolerate this defiance. They will come for you with everything they have. Your species may not survive. Marcus looked around the chamber at the hundreds of alien faces watching him. Some showed anger. Some showed fear. A few showed something that might have been respect. Chancellor, humanity spent thousands of years fighting ourselves. We got very good at warfare. But we also learned something important. We learned that some things are worth dying for. Justice is one of them. Protecting the innocent is another. He straightened his uniform. So here's what happens next. The Council can support Earth's protection of the refugees. You can recognize that humanitarian intervention is more important than political convenience. Or you can side with the Krellox. You can watch them destroy human ships and kill human crews for the crime of protecting innocent lives. But understand this. The galaxy is watching. Every species that has ever been threatened, every population that has ever needed help, they're all watching to see what the Council chooses. The Voxcar spoke quietly, its scales now a deep purple. You cannot win a war against the Dominion. Probably not, Marcus agreed. But we can make them pay for every meter of space. We can show the galaxy that someone was willing to fight. And maybe that matters more than winning. The Chancellor was silent for a long time. Finally, it spoke. The Council will deliberate. You are dismissed, Ambassador. But understand that your actions have consequences beyond your comprehension. You may have just started a war that will consume millions of lives. Marcus bowed slightly. With respect, Chancellor, the war started when the Krellox began hunting refugees. We're just the first ones to fight back. As he walked toward the exit, a junior diplomat from the Meraxi coalition approached him quietly. The insectoid being clicked softly, and the translation came through Marcus's earpiece. "Ambassador, there are some of us who believe what you said. Some of us who remember when our worlds needed help. We cannot speak openly yet. But know this, you are not alone." Marcus nodded his thanks. As he left the chamber, he could hear the council erupting into arguments behind him. The debate would last for days, but in 2 cycles, the Krellax Armada would arrive at the refugee zone, and Earth would have to back up its words with blood. 3 cycles before the council confrontation. Captain Lisa Reeves walked through corridors that smelled wrong. The human carrier Defiant had been designed for combat operation. NS. Not humanitarian relief. Now its hangar bays held makeshift shelters constructed from cargo netting and emergency blankets. Its mess halls served food to alien children whose biology required nutrients human bodies would find toxic. A Talvine child approached Lisa. The species was humanoid in basic structure, but their skin held bioluminescent patches that pulsed with emotion. This child's patches flickered with rapid, chaotic patterns. Fear. Lisa had learned to read the basic emotions in the 2 weeks since the refugees had come aboard. "Captain, will the hunters find us here?" The child's voice came through a translation device. The actual sounds were musical, almost bird-like. Lisa knelt down. "Not while my crew is watching. I promise." The child's patches steadied into a slower, calmer rhythm. "Trust." The child ran back to its family group, huddled in one of the converted storage bays. On the bridge, Chief Engineer Rodriguez waited with reports that made Lisa's jaw tighten. The holographic display showed power consumption rates that glowed angry red across multiple systems. "Captain, we're running life support for 6 refugee ships because their power cores are failing. The Talvine vessels are old. They were never designed for long-range flight. They're colony ships, not warships. Can we maintain current operations?" Lisa asked. "We can keep everyone alive. But we're operating at 60% combat efficiency. If the Krelliks show up, we'll be fighting with one hand tied behind our backs." "Maybe both hands." Lisa studied the readouts. Every human ship in the flotilla showed similar strain. They were protecting not just the 3 million refugees on the Talvine ships, but also maintaining defensive positions around smaller craft that couldn't even jump to faster than light speeds on their own communications. Officer David Kim interrupted. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth. It's Fleet Command. Encrypted. Priority Alpha." Lisa moved to the command chair. "Put it through." Admiral Thompson's face appeared. He looked like he had aged 10 years in the past week. "Captain Reeves, the situation has evolved beyond projected parameters. The Galactic Council has issued a formal censure of Earth's actions. 17 allied species have threatened economic sanctions. We're facing potential isolation from galactic trade networks." Lisa waited. There was more coming. The colonial administration is facing massive political pressure. The Council has offered a compromise. Transfer the Talvine refugees to neutral processing facilities. They'll be held there while the Council investigates the situation. In exchange, Earth avoids formal sanctions and possible military action from Council enforcement fleets. "How long would the investigation take?" Lisa asked, though she already knew the answer. "Months, possibly years." The Council bureaucracy moves slowly. In that time, the Krelliks would negotiate for extradition through legal channels. Thompson nodded. "Probably. Captain, I need you to understand the gravity of this situation. The President is receiving hourly briefings. Half of Parliament wants to recall the fleet. The other half is demanding we send reinforcements. Earth is tearing itself apart over this decision." Lisa looked at the tactical display showing the refugee ships clustered behind her defensive line. "Sir, what are my orders?" Thompson took a long breath. "Officially, you are ordered to transfer the refugees to Council facilities and return to Sol System immediately. Unofficially, the fleet is divided on this matter. Some captains will follow orders. Others believe we've made a commitment we can't break. And you, sir? What do you believe?" The Admiral was quiet for a moment. "I believe I became a soldier to protect people. I believe my oath was to defend humanity and our values, not just our territory. But I also believe in the chain of command. In the rule of law. In not starting wars we can't win." "Understood, sir." Thompson's expression softened slightly. "Captain, I'm giving you an order I expect you to refuse. Do you understand what that means?" "Yes, sir." "Court-martial. Treason charges. Prison if I survive. Or becoming a symbol. A martyr if you don't survive. Either way, your career is over." Paused. "But some things matter more than careers. The choice is yours." The transmission ended. Lisa sat in silence for 30 seconds. Then she stood. "Mr. Kim, open a channel to all ships in the flotilla. All vessels, including refugee craft." When the channel opened, Lisa spoke clearly. "This is Captain Reeves. I'm going to be direct with you all. Earth has ordered us to transfer the refugees to Council processing facilities and return home. The Council claims the facilities are neutral. The Krellaks will claim jurisdiction through legal processes. The refugees will be handed over within 6 months, maybe sooner." She paused, letting that information settle. "I'm refusing that order. The Defiant will remain on station and continue protecting the refugee convoy. Any captain who wants to follow Fleet Command's orders can do so now. No judgment. Oh, no shame. You've already done more than anyone expected." Captain Helena Vasquez's face appeared on the communication screen from the destroyer Resolute. "Captain Reeves, with respect, refusing a direct order from Fleet Command is mutiny." "I know." "Good, just wanted to make sure we're all clear on the legal situation." "The Resolute is staying." One by one, other captains confirmed their positions. Not all of them. 3 ships announced they would follow orders and return to Earth. Lisa thanked them for their service, and meant it. They were following their oaths as they understood them, but 20 human vessels remained, and the alien ships that had joined the flotilla, vessels from minor species who had no formal alliances with Earth, also stayed. Tactical Officer James Park spoke quietly. "Captain, incoming vessels. Krulak signatures. 6 destroyers. They're broadcasting on military frequencies. They're demanding we prepare for inspection and transfer of the refugee population." The bridge crew tensed. Lisa straightened. "Battle stations. All ships assume defensive formation. Mr. Kim, open a channel to the Krellaks." The Krellaks commander appeared on screen. The species was reptilian, with 4 eyes arranged around a central skull structure and a mouth designed for tearing meat. Human vessel. "I am Commander Vresh of the Krellaks Dominion. You are harboring criminals and rebels. Stand down and prepare for boarding operations." Lisa kept her voice level. "Commander Vresh, the beings under our protection are refugees, not criminals. They are not going anywhere. You have no authority here. This is Krellak space. These are Krelak citizens. They belong to us. They're people, Commander, not property. And they ask Earth for protection." Vresh's expression shifted into what might have been a smile. The effect was disturbing. "Protection. You think your primitive ships can protect anyone from the Dominion? We have been waging war since before your species discovered metallurgy. Stand down, or we will remove you by force." Lisa looked at her crew. Every face showed the same determination. "Commander, if you want these refugees, you'll have to go through us. And I promise you, we'll make it cost more than you expect. Your confidence is admirable. Your tactics are suicidal. Vresh's ships powered weapons. Final warning, human." Lisa's hand hovered over the weapons authorization panel. This was the moment. Once she gave the order to arm weapons, once she fired on Krelak's vessels, there was no going back. Earth would be at war with a species that controlled 40 star systems. Before she could speak, new contacts appeared on sensors. Ships jumping in from multiple vectors. Not Krelaks. Not human, the Meraxi Coalition. 3 ships, small and outdated but broadcasting on open channels. "We stand with Earth in the protection of refugees." More ships arrived. The Tolaran Unity, the independent worlds of Keswick. species that humanity had barely heard of. Flying vessels that probably shouldn't even be combat-capable, each one placing themselves between the Krelax and the refugees. 23 ships became 40, then 60. Each one making a statement that went beyond tactics or strategy. Bresh's confidence visibly shaken. This changes nothing. The Dominion does not negotiate with primitives and their rabble allies. But it did change things. The Krelax destroyers held position, weapons hot, but not firing. After 17 minutes of standoff, Resh spoke again. You have chosen your fate, humans. The Dominion does not forget. We do not forgive. When our second armada arrives, every ship here will be destroyed. Every crew will die, and the refugees will be ours regardless. The Krelax ships withdrew. The bridge crew erupted in subdued celebration. They had survived. They had held the line. Rodriguez approached Lisa quietly. Captain, intelligence reports are coming through. The Krelax second armada. That's not 6 destroyers. That's 200 warships, including 3 dreadnoughts. They're gathering forces from across their territory. Lisa nodded slowly. How long until they arrive? Best estimate. 5 cycles. Maybe less. Then we have 5 cycles to prepare. Or to come up with a miracle. She received another transmission, this time from Marcus Webb at the Council. Captain, I'm going to try diplomatic solutions. I'm going to argue and negotiate and make them see reason. But you need to understand something. The Krelax are coming. And when they do, they're going to make an example of us. They're going to show the galaxy what happens when you defy the established order. Lisa looked at the refugee ships on her display. Then we'll show them something too, Ambassador. We'll show them what humanity means. The Galactic Council's emergency session convened in an amphitheater that had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood at the center platform, surrounded by holographic representations of species that had shaped galactic politics for millennia. Hi, Commander. Thrace of the Krelax Dominion entered through a grand portal, his physical form towering over most representatives. The Krelax were massive, their bodies covered in armored scales that had evolved over millions of years of predation. Thrace wore military decorations that represented 40 conquered systems. Honored Council, Thrace began, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. The human infestation must be excised. They harbor our property. They interfere in sovereign affairs. Most dangerously, they inspire rebellion among lesser species. The Chancellor's energy form pulsed. Hi, Commander. The Council recognizes your grievances. However, the deployment of your second armada constitutes a disproportionate response to what is fundamentally a refugee situation. Thrace's laugh rumbled like thunder. Disproportionate. These humans have been in space for 80 years. 80. My flagship is older than their entire space program. They need to understand their place in the natural order. The Yalthine representative, a collective consciousness spanning multiple small bodies, spoke in unified harmony. Perhaps a negotiated settlement could prevent unnecessary bloodshed. There is no negotiation with prey, Thrace declared. Only predators and food. Humanity needs to learn which category they occupy. Marcus had remained silent through this exchange, watching and listening. Now he spoke. High Commander Thrace, you're absolutely correct. The chamber fell silent. Every representative turned to stare at the human ambassador. We are young, Marcus continued, walking slowly around his platform. We have limited experience with interstellar politics. We don't have your ancient wisdom, your vast empires, your military traditions, spanning thousands of generations. But you know what humanity does have? Memory. He activated a holographic display. Images appeared above the assembly. Cities burning. Mass graves. Weapons of terrible power, reducing entire populations to ash. Do you know what we call the 20th century on Earth? The century of horrors. In 100 years, humans killed more humans than had died in all previous history. We invented weapons that could end all life on our planet. We used them. We refined mass murder into an industrial process. The chamber watched in horrified silence. We did that to ourselves, Marcus said quietly. Not to alien enemies. Not two competing species. To other humans who simply believed different things, looked different, or lived in different places. We nearly destroyed our entire civilization dozens of times. The Voxcar representative coiled forward. Then you admit your species is violent and unstable. This supports the Dominion's position, Marcus corrected. It explains it. We learned something from those dark centuries. We learned that our capacity for violence is matched only by our capacity for change. We learned to channel our aggression into protection instead of conquest. We learned that the strong exist to defend the weak, not exploit them. He turned to face Thrace directly. Hi, Commander. You asked if humanity understands the natural order. We do. We live by it for thousands of years. The strong dominated the weak. Might made right. It nearly destroyed us. So, we rejected it. We decided that intelligence and technology should be used to protect, not just to conquer. Thrace roared. Words. Just words. In 5 cycles, my armada will demonstrate the reality of power. Your fleet will be destroyed. Your defiance will end. The galaxy will remember that the Dominion does not tolerate challenges. Actually, Marcus replied calmly, while you've been gathering your armada, humanity has been making offers. You see, the Talvine aren't the only refugees in this sector. There are hundreds of displaced populations, millions of beings who fled wars, genocides, environmental collapse, people the Council has been processing through bureaucracy for years while they die in temporary camps. He brought up a star map. Movement vectors appeared, showing hundreds of refugee convoys. In the last 3 cycles, Earth sent ships to every major refugee center in this sector. We made them an offer. Come to human-protected space. We'll feed you, shelter you, defend you. And you know what happened? The map lit up with convergent paths, all heading toward human territory. They're coming, Marcus said. All of them. Because when you're drowning, you don't care about politics. You care about who throws the rope? Gorlan representative's stone-like face somehow managed to convey shock. You're using refugees as political leverage? We're offering refugees actual protection. There's a difference. Marcus's voice hardened. And here's what happens next. In 5 cycles, maybe less, High Commander Thrace attacks our fleet. He probably wins. His forces significantly outnumber ours. But every refugee in human space, every displaced person we're sheltering, every species that has learned the Council won't help them, they all see what happens. He looked around the chamber. You think this is about a military engagement? It's not. It's about credibility. Right now, millions of displaced beings believe Earth will fight for them. If the Krelleks crush us, what do you think happens? Do those refugees accept going back to Council processing camps? Or do they become insurgents, pirates? Revolutionaries who remember that someone tried to help them? The Chancellor's form brightened intensely. You would threaten the Council with mass civil unrest. I'm not threatening anything. I'm explaining cause and effect. You've maintained order in the galaxy by allowing the strong to prey on the weak, as long as it was done quietly and legally. We're making it loud and public. Now, everyone's watching. Marcus activated another display. News feeds from across the galaxy. Minor species, broadcasting support for Earth, protest movements on Council worlds, public opinion shifting in ways the established powers hadn't anticipated. You can side with the Krellaks. You can watch them destroy human ships for the crime of protecting refugees. But understand, the galaxy is watching. And they're asking themselves why the Council exists if it won't protect the innocent. Thrace stood to his full, intimidating height. Your speeches will not save you, human. In 5 cycles, you will learn the price of defiance. Maybe Marcus agreed. But we'll make you pay for every meter. And 50 years from now, the displaced populations of the galaxy will remember. They'll remember that Earth stood when no one else would. They'll remember that the Council watched. They'll remember that the Krellaks killed the ones who tried to help. You'll win the battle, Commander. But you'll lose something more valuable. You'll lose the fear that keeps your empire intact. Because once people see a predator can be challenged, they stop being so afraid. The chamber erupted in arguments. Representatives shouted in dozens of languages and communication methods. The chancellor tried to restore order. The unified facade of the council had cracked. In the chaos, Marcus received a private transmission from Captain Reeves. The message was text only, but the content was clear. Ambassador, the Krellex Armada is moving faster than expected. They'll arrive in 2 cycles, not 5. Whatever you're doing, it needs to work now. Marcus closed his eyes briefly. 2 cycles. Not enough time for the council to reach any meaningful decision. Not enough time for reinforcements. Not enough time for anything except what they already had. He opened a final broadcast to all council representatives. Chancellor, honored delegates, humanity requests an immediate vote. Declare the refugee zones neutral territory under council protection. Or admit that council law is simply the will of the powerful. Because in 2 cycles, the galaxy finds out which one it is. The Voxcar representative spoke quietly, its scales now a pale, uncertain color. You are forcing the council's hand. No, Marcus replied. The Krelax are forcing the council's hand. I'm just making sure everyone's watching when you decide. As the session dissolved into further chaos, a junior aide from the Meraxi coalition approached Marcus. The insectoid being's mandibles clicked softly. Ambassador Webb, there are those of us who believe in what you're saying. We cannot speak openly yet. Our governments fear Dominion retaliation. But know this, when the battle comes, you will not stand alone. Marcus nodded his thanks. As he left the chamber, he knew the next 2 cycles would determine not just the fate of the Talvine refugees, but the entire structure of galactic politics. And somewhere in space, Captain Reeves and her crew were preparing for a battle. Couldn't win. The asteroid field of the Tarsi's belt had existed for billions of years. Remnants of a planet that never quite formed. Now it would become a battlefield. Captain Lisa Reeves stood on the bridge of the Defiant, studying tactical projections that all showed the same conclusion. The Krellex Second Armada would arrive in less than 12 hours. The human forces consisted of 23 warships, 40 allied vessels from minor species, and 17 refugee ships that could barely defend themselves. The enemy force numbered 200 warships. Among them were 3 dreadnoughts, each one massing more than Earth's entire fleet combined. On paper, the battle was already over. Captain Rodriguez reported from engineering, "We've completed the modifications you ordered. All ships have implemented the new protocols." "But ma'am, with all due respect, this plan is insane." Lisa didn't disagree. The plan violated every principle of conventional warfare. It relied on desperation, improvisation, and the willingness to pay a terrible price. It was the kind of plan humans had been using for thousands of years when facing superior forces. It was the plan of people who refused to lose. She opened a fleet-wide channel. Faces appeared on her display. Human captains with grim determination. Alien commanders who had chosen to stand with Earth despite having no treaty obligation. Representatives from refugee populations who had armed their colony ships with whatever weapons they could fabricate. "I won't lie to any of you," Lisa began. "The Krellex Armada arrives in 12 hours. By every military calculation, they should destroy us in the first engagement. They have superior numbers, better weapons, more experience. If this was a conventional battle, we'd lose." She let that truth settle over the assembled commanders. "But here's what the Krellex don't understand about fighting humans. We've spent thousands of years at war with ourselves. We got very, very good at killing. And when you spend that long studying destruction, you learn something important. Victory doesn't always go to the strongest. Sometimes it goes to the ones willing to pay the highest price." Captain Helena Vasquez of the destroyer Resolute spoke up. "You're talking about attrition warfare, making them bleed for every meter. I'm talking about fighting like humans have always fought when we're outmatched. Like guerrillas, like pirates, like every desperate army in history that refused to accept defeat." Lisa brought up the tactical display. "The refugee ships jump out first. 10 escort vessels protect them. They head for the Kepler Nebula. It's too dense for heavy ships to follow. The Krellaks can't ignore them without abandoning their primary objective. Tactical Officer Park nodded. That splits their force. Whatever pursues the refugees, we don't have to fight. Exactly. The remaining Krellaks force, probably 150 ships, comes for us. We fall back into the Tarsi's belt. We turn this into a knife fight in the dark. Close quarters. Poor sensor conditions. Lots of debris. We make them fight on our terms. Captain Thomas Wright of the cruiser Vindication raised a concern. Captain Reeves, even in optimal conditions, we're still outnumbered 3-1, which is why we don't fight fair, Lisa replied. Rodriguez has modified our ships with electromagnetic pulse weapons. They won't destroy Krellak's vessels, but they'll disrupt their formation coordination. We've deployed stealth drones that look like asteroids but carry nuclear payloads. We've created false sensor signatures that will make 10 ships look like 50. She pulled up a series of tactical scenarios. The Krellaks use formation warfare because they've always been stronger. They've never had to innovate. But humanity? We've got thousands of years of experience finding ways to kill things that should kill us. One of the Meraxi commanders clicked his mandibles. Captain Reeves, this assumes everything goes perfectly. What happens when the plan fails? Then we improvise. Humans are very good at that too. The briefing continued for 3 hours. Every captain received detailed instructions on their role. The refugee ships began their jump sequence. The escort vessels took position. The remaining forces dispersed into the asteroid field, each ship finding hiding positions among the rocks and debris. In engineering, Rodriguez pushed the Defiance reactor beyond recommended parameters. Safety margins were eliminated. Power conduits were rerouted directly to weapon systems. The ship became faster and deadlier, but far more fragile. One good hit would be catastrophic. A young ensign approached Lisa with a datapad. Captain, there's a message from Earth. It's everywhere. Every news network. Every social media platform. Every colony. The message showed protests across human space. Millions of people in the streets demanding their government support the fleet. Signs reading "Stand with the Talvine" and "Protect the refugees." The public outcry had grown too large for politicians to ignore. Then Admiral Thompson appeared in a new transmission. His expression was different than before. Captain Reeves, things have changed. The President has authorized full military support. We're sending the entire battle fleet. 300 warships are en route to your position.
Ow, Lisa.
Felt her breath catch. Sir, when will they arrive? 18 hours. Maybe 20, with jump calculations. Thompson's face was grim. Captain, you need to survive for 18 hours against a force that should destroy you in 18 minutes. Can you do it? We'll find a way, sir. Then know this. What you've done has reminded humanity of something we'd forgotten. We went to space to be better than we were. To be the people who protect, not conquer. Whatever happens in the next day, you've already changed everything. As the transmission ended, sensors detected the first Krellak ships entering the system. The Armada had arrived early. They weren't giving humanity time to prepare or reinforce. High Commander Thrace's face appeared on all frequencies. Human vessels, this is your final opportunity. Surrender the refugees and withdraw. This is your only chance for survival. Lisa looked at her crew. Every face showed the same determination. She opened a response channel. Hi, Commander Thrace. This is Captain Lisa Reeves of the Earth Defense Force. The refugees are under our protection. You want them? You come through us. So be it, Thrace growled. You die for nothing, human. The refugees will be ours regardless. Maybe, Lisa agreed. But we'll make you remember this day, Commander. We'll make you pay such a price that the next time someone stands up to you, you'll hesitate. And that hesitation is worth dying for. She cut the channel and turned to her crew. All hands, battle stations. Helm, execute dispersal pattern Delta. Weapons, arm all systems. The human ships scattered into the asteroid field like smoke. The Krellak's armada, massive and powerful, plunged in after them. The ships moved in perfect formation, their tactics refined over thousands of years of conquest. Then the first electromagnetic pulse detonated. Krillax sensor arrays went dark. Formation coordination collapsed. Ships that had moved as a unified force suddenly found themselves fighting alone. The Defiant emerged from behind an asteroid. It wasn't enough to destroy the heavy Krillax armor, but it was enough to hurt, enough to surprise, enough to make them angry. And angry enemies make mistakes. Contact in 30 seconds, Park announced. Multiple Krillax destroyers breaking formation to pursue us. Good, Lisa replied. Show them what chasing humans costs. The battle for the Tarses Belt had begun. The battle lasted 18 hours and 17 minutes. In that time, the galaxy learned what desperation and human tactical thinking could accomplish against overwhelming odds. The opening hour went exactly as predicted. The Krillax armada split as refugee ships fled toward the Kepler Nebula. 50 Krillax vessels pursued them, leaving 150 to handle the human fleet. The odds improved from impossible to merely hopeless. Then humanity started improvising. Stealth. Drones hidden among the asteroids activated near the Krillax rear formation. Nuclear detonations erupted across a 5-kilometer sphere. The explosions didn't penetrate heavy armor, but they disrupted sensors and communications. Suddenly, the Krillax fleet was fighting partially blind. The Defiant and 6 other human ships executed a maneuver that defied tactical logic. They charged directly at a Krillax battle group, all weapons firing. It should have been suicide. It was suicide for 3 of the ships, the reactors overloading under the focused fire of multiple enemies. But it forced the Krillax to break formation. It forced them to respond to what appeared to be a desperate gambit. While they were distracted, Captain Vasquez led a strike force through a narrow asteroid tunnel too small for Krillax dreadnoughts, the Resolute and 5. Other ships emerged behind enemy lines and unleashed the electromagnetic pulse weapons Rodriguez had designed. The cascade effect was beautiful and terrible. Krillax formation coordination collapsed completely. Ships collided with asteroids. Targeting systems failed. For crucial minutes, the superior force fought as individuals, and individual ships could be destroyed. The human vessels fought. It's like wolves hunting prey. They never engaged in direct combat if they could avoid it. They struck from ambush positions, fired, and retreated into the asteroid field before the Krillax could respond effectively. Every exchange cost the enemy ship's crew. Momentum, Captain Wright's vindication. Its hull breached and atmosphere venting rammed a Krillax cruiser at full acceleration. Both vessels exploded in a fireball that lit up the entire battlefield. The debris field created by the collision blocked an entire Krillax wing's advance for precious minutes. The Meraxi, Commander Realm. His weapons depleted and his ship badly damaged. Broadcast false sensor signatures across multiple frequencies. The Krillax sensors, already disrupted by the EMP weapons, interpreted the signals as flanking forces. An entire squadron turned to meet the phantom threat, exposing their engines to human railgun fire. Hours passed. The Krillax losses mounted. Not enough to stop them. Not enough to win, but enough to hurt. Enough to make this victory expensive. Enough to make High Commander Thrace realize that crushing Earth would cost more than anticipated. On the Defiance bridge, Rodriguez reported critical reactor status. Captain, we've got maybe 20 minutes before containment fails. After that, we're a floating debris field. Lisa studied the tactical display. The Krillax were adapting to human tactics. They had stopped pursuing individual ships and to the asteroid field. They were consolidating into defensive positions and systematically clearing the battlefield sector by sector. It was working. Slowly but inevitably, the human forces were being compressed into a smaller and smaller area. Then we used those 20 minutes well, Lisa said. Helm, plot a course to Thrace's flagship. All remaining power to forward weapons. Park looked up from his console. Captain, that's a suicide run? Yes, Lisa agreed. But if we're dying anyway, let's make it count. Inform all remaining ships. We're going for the command vessel. Follow if you can. The Defiant accelerated out of the asteroid field. Its reactor pushed beyond any safe operating parameter. Warning alarms screamed across every station. The ship itself seemed to shake with the effort of staying intact. Behind it, every surviving human vessel followed. The Resolute, its hull scarred by plasma fire. The Vindication's sister ship, the Valiant, listing badly but still combat-capable. The Allied vessels from species that had chosen to stand with Earth. Even some of the armed refugee ships. Their improvised weapons laughable, but their courage absolute. They all converged on a single target. Thrace's flagship, a massive dreadnought that massed more than all of them combined. Thrace watched the suicidal charge with contempt. All weapons, destroy those vessels. Show them the price of defiance. The flagship's weapons batteries opened fire. The Valiant exploded instantly. 2 more human ships disintegrated under focused fire, but the others kept coming, firing everything they had. The combined assault hammered the flagship's shields. Alarms began blaring on Thrace's bridge. The dreadnought was not in danger of being destroyed, but it was being damaged. Being hurt, being shown that even the mighty could bleed. That's when the entire tactical situation changed. A massive energy spike appeared on all sensors. Ships emerging from quantum jump points. Hundreds of them. Not more Krelax reinforcements. They were human. Earth's entire battle fleet. 300 warships arriving in perfect coordination. And they weren't alone. Behind them came vessels from across the sector. Species that had been watching humanity's stand. Ships from 40 different civilizations, some barely space-worthy. But each one broadcasting the same message in multiple languages. We stand with Earth. Admiral Thompson's face appeared on every view screen in the system. Hi, Commander Thrace. This is Admiral Samuel Thompson of the Earth Defense Force. You came here to teach humanity about power. Lesson received. Now let me teach you something. Justice isn't about being the strongest. It's about being willing to stand when it matters. The balance of power had shifted completely. The Krelax Second Armada, battered by hours of guerrilla warfare, now faced a fleet that outnumbered them 2-1. Thrace's options had collapsed from victory to survival. For a long moment, the High Commander said nothing. Then, slowly and with visible reluctance, he gave the order to withdraw. But his final transmission carried a promise of future conflict. This is not finished, humans. The Dominion does not forget. Admiral Thompson's response was quiet but heard across every channel in the system. Then, you'd better remember this moment. Remember what it costs to prey on the innocent. Remember that someone is watching. As the Krelax fleet withdrew, the cost became painfully clear. 18 human ships destroyed. 732 personnel killed. Another 1,000 wounded. The Allied species suffered proportional losses. Victory had a price measured in blood and sacrifice. But the refugees were safe in the Galactic Council chamber. The aftermath of the battle changed everything. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood before a changed assembly. The debate that had raged for cycles was over. The Council had watched the battle. They had seen human ships die protecting refugees. They had seen other species join the fight. They had seen the established order crack. The Chancellor's voice carried new respect. Ambassador Webb, the Council recognizes that recent events require a re-evaluation of our refugee protection protocols. A proposal has been made to establish neutral zones under direct Council military protection, with enforcement provisions against military action in humanitarian crises. It wasn't everything. It wasn't perfect. But it was change. Marcus stood silent for a moment, then spoke. Chancellor, humanity doesn't need the Council's permission to do what's right. We needed the Council to remember what it was created for. If this battle reminded you, then perhaps the cost was worth it. 3 months later, Captain Lisa Reeves walked through gardens on Earth's colony world of New Haven. The Talvine children ran and played. Their bioluminescent patches pulsing with emotions, humanity was learning to read. Joy, hope, safety. Other. Refugee populations had joined them. Pillans, Cassans, dozens of species who had taken Earth's offer of protection. The colony world that was supposed to house 500,000 humans now held 3 million beings from across the galaxy. A Talvine elder approached Lisa. Captain Reeves, we wish to build a memorial for those who died protecting us. What would be appropriate in human tradition? Lisa thought of the names she read at memorial services. The faces that would never return home. The families left behind. In human tradition, the best memorial isn't stone. It's making sure the cause was worth it. Keep building your lives. Keep raising your children. That's the memorial that matters. In orbit, the Defiant underwent repairs. Its hull bore permanent scars from the battle. Rodriguez insisted some should be left visible. So we remember what we fought for, he explained. Across the galaxy, the impact of humanity's stand rippled outward. Species that had learned to accept Council inaction began demanding change. Refugee populations looked to Earth with something unprecedented. Hope. Ambassador Marcus Webb's final report to Earth's government was brief. We asked if humanity was ready to join the galactic community. We got our answer. We're not ready to be another empire. We're ready to be something the galaxy hasn't seen. The ones who stand when others won't. A new ship launched from Earth's orbital facilities. Not a warship, but a colony vessel designed to transport refugees to safe havens. Its name painted proudly on the hull. Sanctuary. High Commander Thrace. Minna's report to the Krelix Dominion's War Council wrote words that would echo through the Empire. We assessed humanity as prey. This was an error. They fight like predators, but protect like shepherds. They will accept annihilation rather than abandon those they've sworn to protect. Recommend extreme caution in future engagements. The humans are more dangerous than we anticipated. But for the children playing in New Haven's gardens, the story was simpler. They asked Earth for refuge. Humanity guarded them with warships. And in doing so, humanity showed the galaxy what courage really meant. Not the courage to conquer, the courage to stand, the courage to pay whatever price was necessary to protect the innocent. The fleet that had held the line at Tarsai's belt became legend. Songs were written in languages humanity barely understood. Stories spread across thousands of worlds. The tale of the species that was young and weak and outmatched, but refused to abandon those who needed help. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, other civilizations watched and wondered. If humanity could stand against the Dominion, if scattered ships could hold the line through courage and sacrifice, if the weak could make the strong pay a terrible price, then perhaps the galaxy's order wasn't as fixed as everyone believed. Perhaps change was possible after all the Talvin refugees built their new homes. The displaced populations found safety, and Earth's fleet continued its patrols, watching over those who had no one else to protect them, because humanity had learned something important during those desperate hours at Tarsai's belt. Power isn't just the ability to destroy, power is the will to protect. And when the galaxy asked Earth for refuge, humanity answered with the only thing that mattered. They answered with hope, defended by warships and backed by the absolute. Refusal to let innocents die. Well, they could still fight. That was what it meant to be human. That was what it meant to stand. And the galaxy would never forget. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.